Solving two-step equations. When solving equations, we isolate the variable on one side of the equal sign. We simplify on the left-hand side by combining any like terms or distributing. We simplify on the right-hand side by combining any like terms or distributing. Then we go on the side with the variable and start to get rid of terms. We will get rid of anything that's added to or subtracted from the variable term first. Save division until last. Remember to get rid of terms, perform the reverse operation on both sides of the equal sign. Think of the variable as a package that we would like to open. So in the following equation, 3x minus 5 equals 7. X is the package that we would like to open. The closest thing to the package might be the wrapping paper. So the 3 is like the wrapping paper. The 5 is like a ribbon, so something a little farther away, but still on the package. So if we're solving, it's like unwrapping a package. So you go to the package and would take off the ribbon first. And then last, we would take off the paper. So maybe that will help you remember the steps. I have a couple of equations here for us to solve that are two-step problems. So here is our first one. There's no simplifying on either side. So we go on the side with the x, and we're going to take off anything added or subtracted to the x first. So 5 is subtracted. We're going to add a 5 to both sides. Clean up. It says 3x. Bring your equal straight down. 7 plus 5 is 12. Go back on the side with your variable. And then now it's a one-step equation. You are ready to divide. So we divide by the sign of the coefficient. Gives us x equals 4. Let's try one more. All right, so over here, this time we want to isolate y. We go on that side, and the 5 is added to the y term. So we need to take it away. This will clean up. So we have negative 2y equals, what's your signs here? Like signs, add and keep the sign. Use your calculator if you have trouble. Go on the side with the y, and you have to divide by the sign of the coefficient. So we're going to divide by a negative 2. And this gives us y equals positive, because we have division with two negatives, positive 6. Let's have a look at one more problem. I didn't want you to think that they always turn out even. So for this equation, we want to isolate the x. There's no simplifying to do, so we're ready to solve. We start on the side with the x, and we should take off the 6 first. It's subtracted from the x. So we need to add 6 to both sides. Clean up. So we have 4x equals 14. Go back on the side with the x, and you're going to divide by 4. Now, this doesn't divide evenly, 14 over 4, so you want to just reduce it. It has a common factor of 2 because they're both even, so you can divide both by 2. 2 into 14 will go 7 times, and 2 into 4 will go 2 times. You can also do that if you practice and learn how on your calculator. Now, I want you to pause the video and try the following problem. All right, I hope you worked it. And now let's see how it should be. So we go on the side with the x, and we'll take off anything added or subtracted. So the 2 needs to come off. We'll subtract a 2 from both sides because it was added. Then we'll clean up. We're left with 5x on the left. Bring your equals straight down. 15 on the right. Go back on the side with the x, and you're going to divide by 5. This one is going to divide out even. Gives you x equals 3. I think this problem is a little tricky for students, so I wanted to be sure to do one. You want to go on the side with your variable. So we're over here, and we need to take off this 7. You have to remember that the 7 sign is in front of it. So this is a positive 7. We are going to subtract 7 to make it cancel. The sign after it goes with a y, and it had nothing to do with the 7. So that leaves us negative y equals 2. Remember, you're not allowed to leave an equation like this. This is really negative 1 in front of the y. And so now we'll divide. It's multiplied by y, so we'll divide by negative 1. And that gives us y equals negative 2. So it's okay if this is turned around. Just the 7 is what we want to get rid of, and its sign is in front of it. Right, the next equation we have has some simplifying. See, it looks a lot longer. So we'll simplify. We're going to stay on the left-hand side. That's all we're going to look at. And we need to take the parentheses off. So we are going to distribute to get the parentheses off. And you're taking the negative with your 2. So we get negative 2x minus 10. Parentheses comes off. Bring your equals straight down. Now we'll go to the other side and we'll stay over there. These are like terms. They're also like signs, so they're going to add and keep the sign. Now it's a two-step solve problem. So go back on the side with the x, and we'll take off the 10. It's added, so we're going to, it's subtracted, so we're going to add. That leaves us negative 2x equals different signs here. So subtract sign of the larger, or use your calculator. Go back on the side with the x, and you need to divide by a negative 2. We'll clean up. This leaves us x equals a, whoops, Mrs. H. You have to divide both sides by the same thing, by a negative 2. And anything divided by itself goes one time. We're going to look at a couple of formula solving problems. So for the first one, we want to solve for t. So that is the variable that we're going to isolate. Remember, go on the side with the t. Look around the t. Notice the g is multiplied by the t. They're side by side. So we'll deal with that last. The k is added to the t. So we're going to subtract it to get rid of the k. Right. On this side, put it after. It's not going to be like terms, so you don't want it right under. But don't put it in the front. It can cause a sign error. So we'll rewrite it. So we have v minus k equals gt. Now go back on the side with the t. You want the t, you don't want the g. They're multiplied. To reverse a multiplication, you divide by the one you don't want. So we don't want g. Do the same thing over here. And this one is going to leave you a fraction, and that's okay. As long as t is isolated, that was our goal. Right. Pause the video and try the following problem. Solve for x, y equals mx plus b. Now we'll have a look and you can check yourself. So we want to get x by itself. We go on that side. Here's your x. It's multiplied by the m because they're side by side. right? Something else on that side is the b. B is added to the x. So b needs to come off first. It's added, so you need to take it away. Over here, we're going to put it after. We'll rewrite it. So we have y minus b equals mx. This one canceled, right? And we're still trying to get x by itself. So go on the side with the x, which is here. It's multiplied by the m. So to get rid of the m, you will divide. That will make it cancel. Same thing on both sides. And that isolates your x. Just leave the other side as a fraction. It is fine like that. Now we're going to look at some problems that have variables on both sides of the equation. Remember, our goal is to isolate the variable. If you have the variable in two places, you can't isolate it. So you need to deal with that situation first so that you'll have a set order. So in our first equation, on this side there is no simplifying. On the other side there is no simplifying. But what you want to see is you have 6x on this side and you have 3x on the other side. You need to make one of those terms cancel so that you only have x on one side. It doesn't matter which one you choose to get rid of. I'm going to choose to get rid of the 3x. Now, I want the whole piece to disappear, so I need to subtract a 3x. That will make it cancel to 0. Dividing by 3 would not help you. It would leave the x there. So also I'm going to subtract 3x here, put it under the right term, and only do one thought process per line. Now we have to clean up. This will give us 3x minus 8 equals, come straight down, 7. And now it's right back to a two-step equation. Go on the side with the x. Anything added or subtracted should come off. So the 8 should come off. It's subtracted. Add both sides. Clean up. So we have a 3x equals 15. Go back on the side with the x, and now you're ready to divide. By the sign of the coefficient, and it gives you x equals 5. So the only extra step was here on this first line. If you see a variable on both sides, you need to get rid of one of those and make it cancel to 0 on one side. And then it will be a standard two-step equation. Let's try one more. So with this one, we do have x on both sides. There's no simplifying on the left, no simplifying on the right. So I'm going to get rid of an x term. I'm going to choose to get rid of the 2x. So it's a positive 2x. To make it cancel, I'll subtract 2x. That would cancel to 0. You have to do the same thing over here. That's the only step you should do on that line. Now clean up. So we have 3x minus 3 equals, come straight down, negative 18. Now you have a two-step equation. Work on the side with the x because that's where you're trying to get x by itself. Anything added or subtracted should come off first. So this 3 should come off, the one that's subtracted. Okay. That leaves us 3x equals, on the other side you have different signs. So subtract sign of the larger or put it in your calculator. Go back on the side with the x and divide by your coefficient. So divide by 3. And this leaves us x equals negative 5. We're going to look at this next problem two ways. It is a problem where I see students get stuck. So it doesn't look very big. It only has 3 pieces on it. We want to solve, and it does have x on both sides. So we need to get rid of one of those x terms. We can choose. We can get rid of the 3x or the 2x. It doesn't matter. So if you choose the 2x, you're going to need to subtract it. Do the same thing on both sides. And then we'll clean up. Notice that it canceled out our right-hand side, but we still have to keep a right-hand side. So let's clean up over here. This leaves us 1x plus 5. Your equals must come straight down. If everything canceled, you have to write 0. You are not allowed just to move the equals over to make a side. So that is very important there. If you wipe out a side, put 0, then you're safe. Now this one is actually down to a one-step equation. Go on the side with the x and take off the 5. It's added, so take it away. So x equals negative 5. All right, I'm going to do the same problem again, but this time I'll get rid of the 3x so that I don't wipe out a side. Should get the same answer at the end. All right, so if I get rid of the 3x, I have to subtract it. That would make it cancel to 0. This one's gone. So 5 equals negative 1x. Now remember, you're not allowed to leave an equation like that. And this is a negative 1. You can write it if you want. So you have to divide out that negative 1. So x equals negative 5. Same answer. Just you have to be real careful. If you wipe a side out, that's okay. Put 0 to be safe. Don't move the equals. I thought we'd look at an equation that looks a little bit longer. So remember, if you have like terms or parentheses on one side, that you have to stay on that side and simplify. So this one, I'm going to need to stay on this left-hand side and work for a while. All right, so I'm not going to touch the right-hand side, so I am simplifying. So the first thing I'm going to do is get this parentheses off. So I'm going to distribute the 4 only to the parentheses. So 4 times 3x is 12x. 4 times 4 is 16. Parentheses comes off. Bring down your minus 20. Right? And then I still have like terms. So these are going to go together. They're on the same side. So I'm going to bring down my 12x. These are different signs, so subtract sign of the larger. Now that side's cleaned up. Then we'll go to the other side, and these x's are like terms, so they can go together. Work with the coefficients, so that gives me 5x plus 3, and that side is all cleaned up. Then you're ready to start solving. It does have a variable on both sides, so we need to get rid of one of those x terms. I'm going to choose to get rid of the 5x. It's a positive 5x, so I'm going to take it away. Same thing on the other side. This gives me 7x minus 4 equals, come straight down. Now it's a standard two-step equation. Go on the side with the x, get rid of anything added or subtracted. So we're going to get rid of the 4. Add the 4 to make it cancel. This one goes out. 7x, our equals come straight down, equals 7. One more solve step. Divide by your coefficient. And so x is going to equal 1. Make sure that you keep good notation. You really should only have one thought process per line. Even when you're ready to do these in your head, if you do this step in your head, you still would need this line and this line. Right? So one thought process per line.